What's going on, everybody? I'm Scott. This is my channel, Scott Talks Shudder, where I talk Shudder horror movies. And today we are talking a Shudder exclusive, I believe, when it came out. I could be wrong, but I think it was exclusively on Shudder. And that is The Dark and the Wicked. And I apologize up front if I sound like shit. I'm still sick, ran through the whole family, and I think it got me twice. So, sorry if I sound like shit. But this film, I remember hearing a lot about it when it came out. I'm a couple years behind to it. First time watch was last night. And I didn't really know what to expect. I had, I guess, a thought of maybe how it could go and the kind of vibe it was going for. And I was pretty close. But I had heard very good things about this. So The Dark and the Wicked tells a story about this brother and sister who go back home to their parents. Their father is sick in hospice care, and they go back to take care of their mother, and some twisted, demented shit starts going down. And who do I think this is for? I think this is for people that really like darker, just dreary themes from start to finish in a movie. It had very similar vibes to like The Witch, Hereditary, in the sense that even when there's nothing happening, just from the second the credits start, it just has a sense of dread that sits along the entire movie. It just seems suffocating that there's nothing good going to happen here. I don't see any good happening from the start of this movie to the end of this movie. It just seems like it's going to be a rough go for these people no matter what. If you like those movies, I think you can get something out of this. And also, you have to keep in mind it's 4 years old, 5 years old. And at the time when this would have came out, those movies were a little more in the zeitgeist or the realm of that. So it's got a couple little plays in it that are very similar to that in certain aspects, which I'll touch on later. But it's not going to be a fun, slasher, killy, let's do some Insidious and Conjuring type stuff. This is going to be pretty dark the whole way through. You're going to get a lot of elements of people offing themselves or trying to, that kind. So if that's something that bothers you, definitely don't watch this movie. It is full throttle from start to finish, as far as there's not a real build up to something's wrong here, it's kind of good, and now something's wrong with this person and we haven't. No, from the opening credits, it's fucked. And then when it ends, it's even more fucked. So that's the movie. My thoughts on it, I was a big fan. Because I do like those style of movies where it's just impending the whole time. There's something about it that just makes it a little more horrifying. And it had a jump scare in this movie, which jump scares typically don't really get me because you kind of know the beats. You know when they're coming. There was one that it lulled me into a false sense of security, and then it got me. It made me jump. And the way it can use elements to not do a jump scare of just a loud crash, and now you're, scared. This makes you hold on scenes that almost make you want to jump and nothing's happening. Like, I wasn't the biggest fan of Smile, but I know a lot of people found that eerie when they go and they hit rooms and they're talking to people and they just hold like a blank smile stare. And the fact that you hold and hold and hold and hold. So you're waiting for something to happen and you want to look away, but you can't look away. Those are the elements in this film that were the scariest, is you're stuck in it. It feels like you're in quicksand where you're just trying to dig your way out and you just dig deeper because it just forces you to sit in it. And I really like when movies do that. It's a dark element. And now, a couple years down the road, it's a little overplayed. Not that it's bad or a bad element or anything. I still really enjoy it. But you see it a lot more. Whereas I imagine when this first came out, it was a little more fresh. A little more new and innovative. Especially with those movies, again, that came out around that time, Witch, Hereditary, stuff like that. And there's one scene in particular that really reminded me of The Witch. If you've seen them both, you'll probably guess which one it is. And it was definitely one of the creepier elements of this movie. I thought the acting was great. the dynamic of the brother and sister in this, because the lead of this movie is like I said, brother and sister coming back to take care of their parents. And you can tell they have some sort of a strained relationship, not only between themselves, but between the parents. And it's almost like they're there out of guilt and wanting to kind of make amends at the end of the road. And they run it really well, where you don't even feel like they're going to help each other out. They don't even feel like they're on the same team. They're there together, but there's tension even in those elements between all the characters. And the twists and turns this movie throws, you hit a point where you learn that you can't trust anyone or anything in this movie. It's just pure evil through and through. You don't feel safe with. Anytime you start to feel safe, you go, I don't know if I should feel safe with you. You're not really sure who you're pulling for. Who is this going to be our helper? Is this going to be the help? Is this going to be what changes it? And they just chip and chip and chip and chip away to where by the end you feel broken down. Of you really sympathize with the lead character because you've exhausted everything. You're stuck between a rock and a hard place of what you want to do, and you can definitely feel that in the acting performance in the lead especially. There is a priest figure in this film, which I think he was the most impactful to me. His performance really stirs up unease the whole time, no matter if he's in the good, if he's in the bad, if he's just happens to be in the, anytime he's in a scene, it just stirs up unease amongst everything, in my opinion. And there is minimal blood and gore and stuff. There's quite a bit, but it's not over the top. It's not over exaggerated or anything. There is a scene pretty close to the opening. You'll know exactly which one it is if you watch this movie, or if you've seen this movie, that I did not see coming. It actually had me going, oh, fuck, when I watched it. I out loud went, oh, fuck. This movie lulls you into a false sense of security at times. And it's creepy. So something weird's going on, but you don't really know what's about to happen. And it just kind of builds and builds and builds and builds and builds. And then it pays off so brutally that I verbally, out loud, had to say, oh fuck. Well, I'm laying in bed watching this movie. My wife's trying to watch her shows on her iPad or whatever she's doing. And I'm just locked in over here in this twisted, depraved world 10 minutes into this movie, not knowing what the rest of this is going to be. And as far as rewatchability, this isn't a movie that I would just throw on to rewatch myself. This is one that I want to watch other people watch, if that makes sense. I want to show it to people. I want to make my wife watch it, my sister-in-law, my brother-in-law, my friends. If they haven't seen it, I would want to, and I'd have no problem watching it again, but I want to watch it with someone who has not seen it. That way you can enjoy their visceral reaction to all of the dread, just like you did the first time you watched it. I think I would get enjoyment watching them be tormented for an hour and a half, essentially. That's where I think the rewatchability comes in, is sharing it, showing people. Just like I loved The Witch. I loved Hereditary. I know I've mentioned those a lot, but these are the vibes I got from this film. I never really watched those movies again just for, I'm sitting on the couch on a Saturday, let me throw a movie on. I would put them on to make other people watch them for the first time. And that's where I get enjoyment from it now, is people that have not seen those, knowing what's coming up, knowing where this is going to end, and have them sit through it. That's where I think the fun is now with this movie. So all in all, I enjoyed it. I think it was really good. I looked into a little bit of the filmography of the director, and he did the original Strangers, which that came out when I was 12, probably 13. I'm not exactly sure on the year, but I was probably like 13 or 14, somewhere in there. And that movie stuck with me. I loved the atmosphere. I loved the elements. There was sound design that was cool. Record players playing in the background. All those scenes. Loved that movie. And so to know that he made this one, huge fan. It was right up my alley. So put it down below, guys. Did y'all like this movie? I know I'm kind of behind on it. I'm behind on all these movies. I think the last one I did was a movie from 1983 from the Deadly Spawn, whenever that was. But still, I think this was a great film. If you haven't seen it and it sounds interesting, check it out and let me know what you thought. If you have seen it, did it work for you? Was it too typical of stuff you've seen here recently? Was it original to you? Let me know. Like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. Hopefully, in my future videos, I'm not sick as shit. Thanks, guys, for the support. Peace.